Wait, y'all, look how many plays Diatomize is. 5 plays away from 3,000. Also, my playlist, if any of you don't follow my playlist, I only need one more to hit 50, so just saying. Okay, everyone, welcome to Music Marketing Week 2. Today we are going to talk about how to find and pitch Spotify playlists and how to organize yourself a little bit better, because last week we talked about, kind of prepping what you need for your press campaign, all the things you should have, all the ways you should be branding yourself and talking about yourself, and kind of doing that research. But I didn't necessarily talk about how to organize the research that you all were doing. So some of this stuff, again, will apply to people that aren't in music, although this week is a little bit more music specific. If any of you have questions at any time, to make sure that I see it, you can use the !Q command right here and submit it in my little Google form, or you can write it in chat. Also, I do have a new song out. Almost. It's coming out next week. You guys, it's coming out next week. So if you haven't pre-saved it yet, pre-save it. There's also links in my info things, all of that. It's called Happily Ever After. And for anyone watching this broadcast later, if you didn't know, my name is Kisos. Just on Spotify and all that stuff is Kisos, Kisos. It'll be out officially on the 13th, but it's premiering tomorrow morning. Oh my God. That just connected. You guys, it's going to be out tomorrow. I have press for it. So I pitched it to some places. I already got like 6 or 7 responses from people that want to cover it or put it on their playlist, aside from what I already got for tomorrow. And I have barely even started. So I'm really, really, really excited just for this to be out in the world. Yeah. Anyway, let's get started. Oh, let me click on this shit again. And everyone, please host just so we get a little bit more attention on everything. Okay, let me make myself a little smaller here, or move over slightly. Oh, wrong way. Oh, I'm just gonna be a tiny little thing today, aren't I? A tiny little thing. And let me move this bar. Oops, it was up long enough. Raga, thank you for the host, darling. Thank you for the host, baby. Okay, so there are 3 different categories of Spotify playlists on Spotify. You have your listener made at the very bottom. You can see here. Oh my God. Why do I always suck at this? Your listener made, which is playlists that, you or I make that anyone can be on. They can be public or private. And there's thousands and thousands of these of different sizes. Some of them, have 1 follower. It's just some random person making a playlist for themselves where they're like, sure, if some people want to find this, they can find it. Or there's other people where it's like made by blogs or like made by the musicians themselves. Then you have the editorial playlists, which are, like New Music Friday type of stuff, and Pollen, and All About 2000s, and I Love 90s R&B, and sad, chill music, sleep hours, all those things. So those are the editorial ones. And then you have the personalized ones like Discover Weekly, Release Radar, at the end of the year. No problem, Haley. Thank you all. We're going to have 3,000 tomorrow. I'm hyped. I was really hoping we could get to 3,000 before the new single release, and we will. Thank you. You guys are amazing. I love you. And then you have personalized. So personalized is like Discover Weekly, Release Radar, anything like your top songs or like those daily mixes, stuff like that. Those are algorithmic and they're like computer generated for you based on what you're listening to. And so, I think I might have. Oh, I forgot. Okay, yeah, this is just, I was like, this is out of order. No, I forgot. This is just kind of like a summary slide. So we're going to kind of be talking about how to get on these different playlists and how to determine the quality of these playlists, which ones are worth getting on, especially the listener ones, because those are the ones that you really have to decide, like, is this worth pitching? Is this worth researching and finding the time? Is pay to play worth it? So some of those listener playlists will ask for a fee, which is not legal, I don't think. Technically, it's like payola. But some of them will do it, and sometimes it's worth it. Have I done it? No. Have I done it for some of my artists? I won't say. Also, I recommend making your own playlist. There's also companies that you can pay, which is legit. Well, the companies aren't necessarily legit, but it's a legal way to pay to get on playlists, although it's not and never guaranteed, is to work with a company that will then pitch you to these playlists. So we'll talk about that. You need to make your own playlist and you need to promote that because it's a great way to get listeners and also support other artists and get them interested in your music and create real relationships. And then, like I said, we're just going to talk really quickly about, again, how to keep track of all your pitches as well as researching targets because it's hard. It's hard to research Spotify playlists and get their contact information. That's okay, Hifa, it doesn't matter. This is for the music community. You can just lurk. It's totally cool. I'm gonna do music later. Okay, one more play on deatomize. I love it. Okay, let me. I'm just gonna be scooting my little camera around here. Yes, thank you, Haley. Okay, so this is just gonna go really quickly on two different ways that I've organized these playlist, organized this research for playlists before. So you can see here, I like to always have the name of the playlist, obviously. In this one, I had the followers because it's nice to have just a general. Followers don't always mean anything. But it's still nice to have something where a lot of the times followers will be real. Sometimes they will not be. But it's nice to be able to like kind of sort by the followers and go, okay, here's the big ones that I'm going to try to hit first and then work your way down. Because obviously if you get on big ones, that will make a bigger change in your career and your streams than a smaller one would. So followers on this one, I also had like artists and track where it was like, okay, I could pick out similar music that was on a playlist that would be similar to mine that I can then share out and be like, hey, I saw that you had this song and I think you'd like my song because of that. Like it sounds similar. Then I put the name of who owns the playlist. And I also linked right here, Spotify user link. I linked to their user profile because sometimes it's hard to find them again with just their name. Or like Spotify won't show you if like their profile is private, but then their playlist is public. So you need to have a link to their profile and then of course link to the playlist. That makes it really easy. Instead of having to just click in all the time, you can copy and paste this into your Spotify desktop app. I do recommend using the app instead of like the desktop browser or web browser, whatever. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. And then I have their email, whatever social media handle of theirs that I can find. Because not all of them want to be hit by email. Some of them actually, as opposed to when you're pitching press, those people you want to hit by email. But with a lot of these playlisters, they're just people that want to be down. You just send them a link in their social media DMs and they're like, okay, they'll listen and they'll tell you yes or no. That's it. And then I put cost because like I said, some of them, even though you're not supposed to, some of them do charge. And maybe I shouldn't be doxing these people, but whatever, it's too late. And then I write date pitch so that way I know when I'm hitting them. Yeah, I do have command. But thank you, Haley. That was lovely. And I love that you use the exact same command. It's perf. And then of course keeping track of when you pitch them so you know when you can follow up because these people definitely do not respond the first time. The playlist people, especially because they're getting so many DMs from people that want to get on their playlist. So you need to hit them again and again until they say no, basically. I mean, don't be a bitch. Don't be annoying as fuck, but... Okay, so you can also see like on this one at the bottom I put multiple because there are some sites like Indie Mono, I can't think of the other ones right now, but there's a few other Spot Lister is defunct. Oh, thank you for the bits, Raga55. Oh, my darling, thank you so much. But yeah, so there's a few kind of sites that you can. Oh, SoundPlate, Indie Mono. There's one more, but those have like multiple playlists, and you just kind of mass submit to all of them for free, which is great. Because compared to Submit Hub, which costs money, but then again, you probably have a little more competition on these. Anyway, but yeah, so on those, instead of putting their email, I just put their website because you don't need an email for them. You just go to the site and enter it all from there. And then on this bottom one, I did it a little different. This was actually something that one of my clients submitted to me just because I don't normally do playlist pitching for my artists because it's a lot of work for very little return. It would take a lot of my time, and it's just not my expertise in terms of like, you know, I know how to hit these people up, and I've had good success getting people on playlists with like you can see these two in green are huge, and I've gotten people on them. And then I got some on this too that I actually hid because I was like, oh, I don't want to give away too much information or like have these people get attacked. 10 more bits and you make it to 100. Ooh, new bit badge. Bite means dick. Oh my gosh, Hifa. But yeah, you can see I did this one a little bit differently. My client sent me one version and I changed it a little bit just to add in average listeners. I think that's really good, and I'll show you how to find that. But instead of just finding followers, we have here on the top left, average listeners is a more accurate metric of the value of a playlist, because this playlist with 10,984 followers and this playlist with 962 followers could both have the same amount of average listeners. So in that case, it doesn't really matter who you prioritize if you want to be hitting like the biggest people first. Like you might be missing out on some gold if you wait to hit this 962 until it's too late. Then you could have missed out on like 70 playlists. Beat. Oh, makes sense. Beat. Bite mon beat. Okay. So that's just the basic way that I do it. And with when I'm pitching press, it's very similar. I put the blog name here, then I put, you know, the journalist's first name here, their email here, maybe their Twitter. I make sure I follow them on Twitter if I'm planning on pitching them. Anyone that they've covered before that is relevant to me that I think would be interesting or some type of connection. And then of course when I pitch them and when I'm gonna ma beat. Oh, okay. Bite ma beat. S'il vous plaît. And then yeah, any notes. So like if they mention they're too busy at this time but they're into the artist or whatever, anything I need to know. Or it's just like, oh, they specifically only want to be pitched this way, blah blah blah. Always make sure that you have the notes, so you don't have to like, that you don't either make a mistake next time or you don't, you know, have to look something up because you forgot to write it down in the first place. Okay, so listener, wait, oh, let me go back. It doesn't matter, Hifa, it's fine. Okay, so now we're going to go through the types of playlists. We have listener-based playlists. These are the easiest to influence and get on, but that doesn't make it easy. It just makes it the easiest. So you can see like I have mine here. I update it weekly with new songs and I keep them on for, each one stays on for a month. Oh, who's that? Who's that right here? Oh my gosh, Raga, thank you for them extra biddies. I was only give you 6. No, you're getting so close. Getting so close. I wish someone could give bits for you just so you could get that 100. But yeah, like I was saying, these are listener-based playlists that people, literally me, you, whoever creates these, and you can get on them. You know, you can, some people will put their information in here. Like I have my information in the description at It's Kisos on all socials. Some people will have their email. Some people you can just look up their government name because that will be their username. You can Google whatever and you can find them. And then from there you can find their Instagram or their Twitter or something like that and hit them up, DM them and say, hey, found your playlist. This song on it was amazing. Or like, I loved all the songs, but like this song specifically reminded me of what I'm making. Or, you know, if you're pitching on behalf of somebody else, like my artist is making music that sounds like this. I think you'd like that. So we're going to go, well, first, okay, let me talk about how we find these. How I found them for some artists is a site called Chartmetric. We'll go to right now. Chartmetric. I don't have I already used my free trial. But basically what it is it can show you every playlist that someone has been on. You can kind of see right here. It doesn't really show. Okay, well, you'll get a profile like this. Like say you're looking at Justin Timberlake. You don't want to look at somebody that big because they'll have been on every playlist under the sun and it's going to take too long. You want to kind of look at, again, when we were talking about doing press, finding artists that are, you know, buzzing but not massive. So they're people that you can kind of follow their steps to see what they did and what playlists they got on. I don't know if there's any, let's do a tour. Sure. Let's see if that shows. Yes. Perfect. Okay. Oh my God. Lawrence is so good. I saw them at South by Southwest last year. Oh my God. They're so good. So you can see all of their like analytics information, their about. It's normally taken from like Spotify or one of those streaming services. And you can see all of their metrics, why it's called chart metric. And then you can start to see their, oh, I don't know what that one is. You can start to see what playlists they've been on. And you can click to them and, you know, let's see, like DG Snore is probably a regular person. Eli Ferrali is a regular person. So you can click when you sign up for the free service, make sure you have like a week to dedicate to it. It's not a whole lot of money if you want to pay for like a month. I think it's maybe like $50. Which is a lot, but not when, you know, you can take this information and use it for a long time. Like you get your money's worth of research and stuff. So let's say you go from here and you're like, oh, the sound of New York, US. Let me look up who owns that. PoC playlist. Let me look up that. Andreas Carlson. Let me look up that. So you can search these people, you can find them, and you can make your whole list organized like on the last slide that I was showing you all, where, you know, it has the name of the playlist, any contact information you can find, their listeners, their average listeners, blah, blah, blah. This is such a nice little tour. And then you can also see like who the most influential people that they're on, but you can also literally just export this list and it will show you everything. It will give you all of the links to their playlists and stuff like that. So then you can kind of sort through there and make your Excel sheet accordingly. It also shows you Apple Music playlists. But what I noticed when I was on there was that the Apple playlists were, I didn't really have any success with finding people. There weren't that many. Most of them were official Apple playlists, which you can't pitch outright unless you have major connections. So I would say just kind of focus on the Spotify end of that. Spot on Track is another one that specifically only gives you that information for Spotify, and I think it is cheaper, and you can also get a free trial from them. So you can do a free trial for Chartmetric or Spot on Track and find your information, and then do it with Chartmetric or whatever. And then I just say Rabbit Hole here because, and we'll kind of go into it right now. I'm going to open up Spotify. So let's go to, for example, Francoise, one of my artists. You can see like, oh, she's on this great playlist. She's getting 81 listeners. That's not bad at all. Okay, if you're in Afro House, if you're in this type of music, you can kind of look at it and be like, oh, here's one playlist, and then I go to this artist. Oh, what playlist is this person on? Oh, they're kind of all official playlists, so I can't do anything to influence those. You can go to these people, you know, and find the smaller artists. Ooh, he's probably too big too. You can go find the smaller artists, find what playlist they're on, and kind of build out something. Let's go down farther. Build out something with, let's go down to the end, because that's where probably the newest people are. Ooh, they're also big. So big. I'm so glad my artist got on here. Wow. Good company. Okay, here's one example. So then you can go to this one and be like, oh, Sletten Disco. Let's me put this one on. Dance music. That's what it sounds like. You can listen to some of the songs, get an idea, and then, you know, go to this artist and be like, what playlist is he on? Oh, okay, let me find Jordi Voss. Let me find Eric Van Beuningen. Let me find Anya Q. Let me find Marcia Janssen. So that's how you kind of go down that rabbit hole, and you can start to, you know, if you're making dance music, here are 5 playlists that you can add to your thing and try to find that contact information. It is not always easy. In fact, most of the time it is hard, but it's possible. And that's also how you can track and see if these playlists are worth it. So let's say a playlist is going to charge you. Let me go to one that I know is not worth it. Eternity Network. Oops. Where are you? Where's their playlist? This is called like selects or something. Let me Google her. Let me Google her. I knew Sunday selects, but I didn't trust myself. Okay, let's try this. It's a conversation, just you and me. This one. Okay. So they have 6,017 followers. Sounds like that would be a pretty solid playlist to get on, right? Let's go look. Zytex has 15,000 monthly listeners. We want to find out how many listeners he's getting from this playlist to see if it's worth getting on. The lowest playlist that this dude is on is 21, which means that he's getting less than 21 playlists from being on this playlist that has 6,000 followers. To put it in perspective, my playlist that has 49 followers gets about 5 monthly listeners for the people that are on it. So it's about 10%. So you would think that this dude would be getting at least 500 monthly listeners, especially because he's in the first slot on this playlist, and most likely has been since November 24th. So he's getting probably 20 or less monthly listeners from this. This sounds like I wouldn't want to pitch this playlist. Now, if it's on Submit Hub and it only costs $1, sure, why not? Every playlist ad helps. If it's a playlist that, will vibe with your music. It's not like you're making folk music on a hip hop playlist, which has happened with one of my artists, where it's like, okay, you're getting a lot of listens that will boost your streams up, but these people aren't turning into fans. They're not saving your music. So it's not necessarily helping you. And in some ways it might hurt you because the engagement on your music is down. You might be getting a stream, but people are going to be skipping it a lot too. And that doesn't give you a good report card within Spotify's charts. Oh yeah, you can also see this dude Zytex is right here in the third. So he's in 2 of the top 3 spots, and he doesn't even have 20 listeners from this playlist with 6,000 followers. So I would never pay to get on this one. There's this dude that hit me up on Twitter, and I'll show you his as well. That's why like bots are the worst. Yeah, and they have these thing called download gates, which people use for this type of thing. Oh, what's this? Okay, yeah, this guy has just been like going crazy on me. So this is another guy's playlist that he was trying to get me to pay $100 for 2 weeks. And I knew that I wouldn't pay that no matter what. But I was just curious to see how well his playlist was doing for its artists. So we'll go look at this dude. Oops. I gotta just click to it from here first. Dun. Okay, and this is why I don't do it through the desktop, actually. Let me explain that. P.S. Yes, hi Juju. I don't through the desktop because you can't go to, like, if I go to Juice WRLD, you can't go to his playlists. It doesn't show playlists on desktop. So we need to be able to see what playlists the people are on so that we can decide if this playlist is worth it or not. Okay, so let's look at this dude's playlist. He has, how's Diamond doing? I'm sure it's at 3,000. It doesn't show live. It won't show me till tomorrow. So honestly, it was probably at 3,000 this morning, but I'm glad it's even higher now. So this playlist has 72,000 followers, and it's created by this guy Ska. So I'm sure he's going to promote himself the hardest. He's only been on it for 3 days, but he's been in the top spot. So let's see how many plays he's been getting from this. Love and Hip Hop, no, his playlist is not on here. His playlist is not on here. And his lowest playlist has 286 listeners, the lowest playlist that he's on. So that means he's getting 285 or less listeners from this playlist in the last, he's only been on it 3 days. Let's see how many songs he has on here though. Just that one. Okay, so maybe it's growing. Maybe he's about to break past it. We don't know. But right now it seems like 72,000 followers. I would expect you to have I would expect that to be showing up in your thing. So let's look at something else. Let's look at Lexi. Lexi has 3,738. She's been on for, only a day. So she might not show up either. But this is also how I'm talking about going through the rabbit hole. Looking up these artists. Look at all these playlists that we have seen so far. Okay, vibe to these. So she's gotten 51 listeners so far in just a day. That's not too bad. That's really not too bad. But is it worth $100 for 2 weeks? Let's see. Let's go to someone who's been on here for longer. This dude's been on for 8 days. 926. So assuming he paid $100 for 2 weeks, his first week is up. So, and he's gotten 579 listeners. So he's paid $50 for 579 listeners, which might be, maybe like 600, 650 streams. Is that worth it? Could be. It's up to you. Because his listeners will probably go up a little bit more. And this dude was also saying he would give me a discount to like $75. And then when I really complained, he said $65. So if this guy is getting 650 plays for $65, That's 10 plays per dollar. Does that work out money wise? No, because you're only going to get like half a penny per playback. So for each of these 650 plays, he's only going to get like $3 back for that 650, but he paid $50 so far. But if this is a good playlist for his music and he's getting a lot of people saving his music and streaming it and maybe getting new fans, it doesn't really look like he's getting new fans and followers from it. But if he was, then I'd say, yeah, maybe it's worth paying for. Clout Indie, let's check them out. Follow at the Clout Network on Instagram. So when you see something like that, that means that you can probably pitch this type of account. You can probably go there, find them, pitch them. Let's see how they're doing for this person. 3,875. They got 1,161 listeners from this playlist because this playlist is smaller. Like less tracks on it, but they also have a lot less followers. So this has less than 10,000 followers, but it's getting this artist twice as much what that other artist was getting. But then again, this person has been on for 2 weeks. So maybe this is the number that that other dude will get to. So it really is up to you kind of in what value you put on spending money on these things. Like, is it worth it to you to spend $65 to get maybe 1,000 streams? Maybe. Is it worth it to me? I don't think so. Because there are a lot of playlists that you can get that will put you on for free and that will maybe not give you quite as many listeners, but they'll give you more engaged listeners because they're people that have found it organically versus when you see something with a lot of followers, but not that much interaction. It could be fake listeners, which is always, or I should say not always. I was going to say always never worth it. It's just never worth it if they're fake listeners. Or it could just, you know, be some of them are real listeners, but a lot of them were fake. So it's just like, whatever. Can someone pay me? If you grow the playlist, if anyone wants to pay me, I mean, I'll do it for free. If anyone out there wants to get on my playlist, send me stuff. I'll consider it. And yes, and then getting to the next part is, like I was saying, there are companies that will push your music for you for a fee, and it's kind of comparable to like PR rates. So one of my artists was doing a campaign, sometimes it's less. One of my artists is doing a campaign that is, she's paying the company like $500 a month over the course of, I think, 3 months to pitch all of these places. She's working directly with a person. She kind of has, you know, like a rep. Basically, it's kind of like a publicist for playlists. They're reaching out on her behalf. And she was like, you know, overall, I think it's worth it, but I don't think it was, I think it's not doing anything better than what we did ourselves because we did do playlist pitching together during our own campaign. So that's something to keep in mind. She was using streaming promotions. I've only heard good things about playlist push. I haven't really heard anything. I haven't heard period of streaming promotions, but most other companies I haven't heard good things about. Playlist push is about, I think maybe like $500 or $600, depending on genres that you want to pitch and timing and stuff. Yeah, for like a 2-week period, they'll kind of blast you out to their network. One of my artists used that, and it got him to, and I won't show you. But he was like, he's a folkier artist, but they put him on some playlists that were good, but then they also put him on like hip hop playlists that I don't know why. I think maybe because he had the same name as like the dude from Criss Cross, Chris Kelly. So maybe they like didn't really listen to the song, but saw the name and thought it was like a new song from a deceased hip hop person. So he got like hundreds of monthly listeners from that playlist, but again, they're most likely not going to be the type of engaged people that you want to have listening to your music. So I'll say for €100, I'll give you more listens than any playlist. Well, yeah, but it's also about, you know, more unique people coming in versus one like really big fan just listening over and over, because that's how it shows like virality, which is what these people are trying to pay for, is like, you know, proof of concept, multiple people all over the world are listening to it at the same time. But yeah, I mean, same. If you pay me $100, I'll keep your shit on repeat all day, baby, in the background on 4% volume. But you'll get paid as long as it's not on 0. So yeah, if you have questions on like paying for companies, I know Playlist Push also gives you Like they give everyone that they pitch, kind of similar to Submit Hub. Everyone that hears your song, if they reject it, they give you a reason why. So that is nice to know. And I think with streaming promotions, it would be the same because you're working directly with the person, instead of kind of like submitting your thing through like playlist push. Basically you send your music in and it just gets sent to all these people and that's it. You get a report at the end. Streaming promotions, they kind of check in with you as far as I understand. So those are two that I've heard that they're at least not scams. They you know, you won't necessarily get your money back, but it could be an investment that gets you onto like Discover Weekly or some other playlist because your numbers are going up. So that is an investment to think about in terms of when you're paying for playlists, or paying for promo companies to get you to playlists. And then it is so important for you to create your own playlist and promote it. Last year, basically when I met Kevin, I think my Indie Phase playlist had like 9 followers. Now it has 49 in just a little over a year, which might not sound like a lot, but it takes a lot of work to grow these types of things. So it gets, you know, maybe 1 to 2 followers a week. In a good week, maybe 0. And once in a while, people will unfollow. So it averages out, I would say, to like 1 follow a week. Because I've been promoting it a lot harder this year. Just like every time I, you know, basically at least once a week when I update it, I tag all the artists, I share it. You know, it gets 5 or 6 retweets, some likes, some comments. I actually someone bought merch and my EP from me making this playlist. So if that doesn't convince you, that's a nice thing. He literally was like, oh, I found your playlist because you covered this artist I really like and I just want to support you. And he followed me. He'd been streaming. He bought merch. He bought my EP, like all this stuff. He followed me on Twitch, even though he doesn't use Twitch and I've never seen him. But he's dedicated. He's dedicated. He wanted to do everything. He wanted to at least give me that little number. So creating a playlist is really important, and promoting it and having it public and having nice art. Having something that looks professional and a name. I put my own name in it just cause extra branding, but okay. And then we have personalized playlists. These seem like they're randomly created, but they're related to your buzz and your charting. This is why I keep asking everyone to save my playlist. I mean, pre-save my new music to their playlists. Because the more people that save your music before it's out or during that first week, the more playlist ads, the more people that are listening and following you, then the more likely you are to get onto something like a New Music Friday, get on Discover Weekly, get on Release Radar. And you can also directly influence Release Radar by submitting your music on time. If you do not know what Spotify for Artists is, you need to sign up for Spotify for Artists. You need to sign up for the equivalent on Apple. You need to talk to your distributor to see how to get on the title one so that you can change your bio, change your pictures, Shazam, make sure that you go through the process to get verified on there. Basically all of these things. Make sure that you have access to your analytics on every platform, because when you have information, you can do a lot more with that. And just make more moves. So getting on Discover Weekly is unpredictable, but getting these, basically I got one of my artists on a bunch of playlists and his followers shot up to, we got him to like maybe 10,000 followers at his high point, and his just listeners were going up, his streams were going up, and then at some point, bam, all of a sudden they really started to shoot up. It was actually after we weren't really on the playlists as much anymore. I think some had taken us off, but all of a sudden he got like 40,000 listens in a week, a bunch of new fans and followers, and it was because Discover Weekly picked him up, because we had kind of created the buzz for him, and then Spotify was like, oh, something's happening with this artist, let's blast him for a little bit, see how he does. Now if his music had done like super amazingly well, they probably would have kept him on Discover Weekly longer, they would have put him on an editorial playlist, something like that. But it was still cool to get on Discover Weekly, period, and that's something amazing to have on your resume when you're pitching places. Be like, yes, I've been on Discover Weekly before, because not everyone has. There's millions and millions and millions of artists, and probably only thousands have been on Discover Weeklies. So it is possible to influence, and the same kind of thing goes for editorial playlists. So it's also related to your buzz, related to your charting. That's why you mostly see major name artists on here. But you'll also find indie artists, but these are indie artists who are not typically just releasing their first song, unless they're part of a label and, you know, they have like a super sexy rollout plan and a launch. And you can also directly influence these with Spotify for Artists. So in addition to just getting on other playlists that might help you get noticed, make sure again that you are a part of Spotify for Artists. If you submit your music through a distributor and it gets to Spotify with at least a week's notice, then you could submit through Spotify for Artists, and your song will get guaranteed get on all of your followers' release radars, which can guarantee you a lot of streams that you might not have gotten otherwise. And if you submit at least a week in advance, you have a chance to, I think you can actually submit later, but having at least a week is your best chance to get on editorial playlists, because humans actually go through, there's a team that will go through what you submit. If you specifically send them the information for what you want to apply, you have to apply to the playlist basically. And you fill out the information, genre, what the song is about, general feeling of it, you know, just like some little details to help them kind of send it to the right teams to see what playlist it might get on. Like, you know, then it'll go to, oh, it's eligible for these 200 playlists. And then it'll go through and be like, oh, I really like this song. I'm going to put it on these 2 of the 200. Something like that. So make sure that you aren't just randomly putting your music to your distributor to get it on your, to get it on Spotify and iTunes. Make sure that you have that grace period. Make sure you have leeway and extra time to go through it all. And then big press looks often correlate to editorial ads. These curators do read blogs. So if you're getting on something like a Pitchfork, Consequence of Sound, maybe Paper Magazine, Fader, Pigeons and Planes, Complex, any of those like top level press, you're more likely to get on editorial things, because it's like, oh, if this is getting co-signed by, you know, some of the biggest, or Billboard, you know, if this is getting co-signed by some of the biggest names in journalism and professional music reviewing, then chances are it's fit for our playlist. Chances are it's professionally done, and, you know, it's something that our users are going to like and interact with. So press does also equal into this equation. So it's nice to make sure that you're not just focusing on playlists or just focusing on press, because they can both help each other. If you get on a big playlist, that will help your press. If you get a big press look, that will help you get on playlists. And if you're doing both at the same time, you can really turn it into a little stepping stone, a little ladder. So that's kind of it for this week. I guess it was a little bit shorter, but we also didn't have that many people here, so that's okay. But again, it's a thing. Do not get discouraged. I'm going to have this slide at the end of every presentation. Do not get discouraged. Publicity is a game of patience and persistence, especially when you're talking about playlists. Like, it's hard. It's hard to find these playlists. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of time. And, you know, you'll get on a place that you'll spend hours just to get on a playlist that has like 50 monthly listeners. But the thing is, the good thing about doing it yourself and really grinding it out is that, here, let me just go back to me, or I'll do this. Oh, 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 oh. I'll just make myself big. Oh, 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 oh. I have week 1 highlighted, Haley, and I'm going to highlight this one and then put it in that collection. So you can also just send her the link to the collection, because I'll be updating it every week. And yes, so everyone who didn't know, this is a weekly series I'm doing every Sunday, 3 p.m. Eastern time. Make sure you come so you can ask questions. Otherwise, you will not get everything out of this that you want to. Because I can give you individualized supports live, baby. But yeah, that's awesome, Haley. I appreciate that. That'd be great. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, it is good to do some of this outreach yourself. It is good to, you know, create these relationships, and we will talk about creating relationships more next week, and how to do that properly. I think we'll also talk about, like, I'll show you exactly what pitching looks like next week, and use like my stuff as an example. Oh, look at my shirt's really freaking out right now. Yeah, I'll show you exactly what it looks like to do this. And because I'm going to be, you know, I'll show you the pitches that I sent. I'll show you how I did it, because I'm just pitching my own music this next week, especially starting Monday, and I've already done a lot. So I can really show you, like, live again, how it goes. Like, step by step, like, okay, here's the first week of release, here's what I'm doing, here's what I did the week before the release, here's what I did the week before that, here's how I created relationships with journalists to get on these different press looks that I'm getting. But yeah, I was gonna say, so one last thing is pitching yourself for Spotify is really nice, because I was talking to my artist today who paid for that like 3-month campaign, and she was saying like, yeah, I mean, they're doing well, but they got me on some of the same playlists that I was already on before with you. I know that it's more likely that I'll be taken off of some of these playlists, because it's kind of more of a business exchange, I think, in those, when a company approaches versus, you know, when a person approaches. It is really interesting too, because playlists and blogs, you really have to approach them differently. Blogs, it's probably better to approach with a publicist or pretending to be a publicist. Playlists, I feel like, is oftentimes better to just approach as yourself. It depends. It's you'll learn as you go, but it is nice to create relationships with the people, because the people who are doing your playlists are also really just, it's a little bit easier than writing a blog, you know? I'm my own agent, Hifa. I'm my own publicist. For now. I would love to hire a professional who can do it better. Just because it's nice to not, there's people who have even more connections than me, you know? There's people who will be able to do more for me than I can do for myself. And it's nice to have more time to just work on music and not have to worry about marketing myself and stressing about it, because it's a lot of work. But I do it all myself. So yeah, I mean, that's the big thing, is do the research. I recommend doing the research yourself, kind of going through it, seeing how it works. And then if you want, hire a company, see how that is. But get both sides of it. Get the flavor, unless you really don't have time. If you really don't have time, hire somebody. I do think it's worth it, but I would say in a lot of ways, press is more important than getting on playlists, because playlists will disappear, but an article on the internet stays around forever. And every article will help your search ranking go up, help people find your site, help people find your whatever. Like, I've started linking my Twitch and stuff, so hopefully some of these articles that go up, like on Monday, we'll have my Twitch linked in there, so then it's all this family of, okay, this blog is linking my Twitch is linked to all these websites are linked to my Twitch and this blog, this blah blah blah. It's this network of search engine optimization, which I don't know that much about, but I know it's important. And that's pretty much it. Oh! Ooh! Anyone have any questions? Have any questions? See, that's what I need. I do need a booking agent. I need and I would love a manager too, to just help me go through this, because it's not easy and it's not glamorous doing it alone. It's not. It's nice to have a whole team behind you instead of doing it yourself. I will though, Hifa. I will eventually. What was I gonna say? But yeah, so come again. Next week, y'all. Sunday. Someone's coming in. Sunday, 3 p.m. Eastern time. I'll be doing this. We'll be talking more. And if you didn't watch week 1 yet, go watch week 1. And then watch week 2. Don't skip anything, honey. Don't skip nothing. And I'll see you next week, and we'll talk more about creating relationships with journalists and other things. How to pitch. What pitching looks like. Everything. We'll just go over everything.